to see you again. Welcome to the You're Too Sensitive podcast with your most sensitive friend, Jade Beal. Could you do me a favor? Would you like and leave a comment on this podcast? It would really mean the world to me. And could you do one other thing? This will be the last thing I ask ever. Could you maybe send this episode or a different one to someone you think might like it? It would truly mean the world to me. Okay, let's get on with this week's topic, which I am very excited about. It happens to be that I was going to record something different for this week, but I posted something on Facebook that kind of exploded and made me realize I want to talk about parenting. I was posting something so innocently from a really happy place, and it went a bit nuts. Of course, it was on my personal page on Facebook, so most people were like, yay, but then there were some folks that just wanted to put me in my place. So I thought, what a good time to talk about parenting. And even if you're not a parent, this is less about how to parent, or I'm not even giving advice on parenting. Let me be very clear. I'm just going to share my way, which is not the way, it's just my way. In my opinion, parenting is more self-healing than anything else. So even if you're not a parent, I think you might enjoy this. Thank you for being here. Let's dive in. So a few days ago, I had picked up my son from school. I co-parent, and it was my day, my beginning of my time with my baby. And I picked him up from school from a flag football game. It was just beautiful, sitting outside in the Tucson mountains at around 5 p.m. And came home and made dinner, and just a lovely night with my son. He'd been at school since 7:30 a.m. and we didn't get home until around 6:30, close to 7 p.m. And he says, Mom, I have some homework, but I just really don't want to do it. And I said, okay, I trust you. Do you think you can still maintain a passing grade if you don't do this homework? Yeah, I think so. I said, okay. And honestly, if he doesn't maintain a passing grade, that's fine with me too, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. What I did was I trusted him. Now, there's a part of me that would like for him to do his homework because I am a people pleaser and I want him to do things he's expected to do, and I want him to learn how to do the work that's needed even when we're tired. But my baby had been at school from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. And my son, who is 13, does not have a phone. So none of that time was spent on his phone because he doesn't have one. He has an iPad. Also, I'll get to that later. Point is, it was a beautiful night. It's now evening, dinner. He finally is relaxing. He asks if he can skip the homework. I tell him I trust his inner compass on the matter. He also had a headache. He did a lot of complaining on the way home, so I knew there was a lot in his body. He was walking weird because his feet really hurt and his neck hurt, and he had a headache. So I said, okay, we'll forget the homework. But, this was before dinner. I had him lay down on his bed, and I pulled up a chair and I gave him about a 15-minute neck and head and face massage because I am a massage therapist, and a scalp. And then we did 5 minutes of breath work while he's laying there. I guided him through 5 minutes, and he's very willing because we've been doing this for a while. Sometimes he'll even do breath work on his own, which makes me so happy. So after that, it's like 25 minutes or so. I ask him if his headache feels better. Yes, it does. I make dinner. We have a lovely, and he took a shower. I could just tell everything was, he wasn't that agitated, complaining state like he was when we were driving home from school. He was regulated in his body, no pressure, trusted, cared for, listened to. And it was a lovely evening. And that was that. Oh, no. What am I saying? That was not that. He goes to bed. I'm on my bed, and I felt so good. I just was like, oh, I just love this freedom, this trusting and guiding. I mean, I'm not letting my son guide his childhood because he expects me to guide. I am the protector. And also, I like listening to his inner voice. I like trusting him. He's an intelligent, ancient, and his body is full of ancient intelligence, just like mine, even though he is still a child. And while I don't let him make all the decisions, I do want to empower him to check in with his body without my guidance in some aspects. Very nuanced. We'll get there as well. I was feeling pretty good is what I'm trying to say. And so I'm sitting on my bed and I wrote a Facebook post very quickly. I was happy. I felt so happy. And I just said, I wrote, my parenting style is, I'm not concerned if my child gets good grades or does his homework. I'm good if he just passes his classes. I'm also good if he doesn't pass. It means nothing to me. What I care about is how kind he is to himself, most important, and to me and to others, how honest he is, how safe he feels, how connected he feels with his friends, how much he has laughed in one day, and how he has helped others. I tell him every day that grades do not and will never measure his preciousness or his goodness. Freedom from worry about school grades. And I am so grateful for his amazing middle school because I love that he gets to be around kids he really likes and learn how to respect other adults and elders. Well, that was my post. And I posted a cute little photo of him on his first day of school, looking so cute, 13 years old. You know, he's 5'10" or 5'11", my little 13-year-old baby. And I posted it, and right away people were like, yay, yes, that's the kind, yay. And I was like, yay, and I went to bed. Which is the famous last words of so many social media posts. And I woke up and there was a lot of comments and quite a few telling me how ignorant and what a terrible parent I am, how your child needs a mother, not a girlfriend, like just really weird shit. Because I had it as a public post on my personal page on Facebook. I also have a photography page, which is where a lot of my following is, but I just was doing this on my personal page. And at first I'm replying to these people who are telling me how ignorant and horrible I am with a lot of kindness. I'm like, valid, you're allowed to think what you think and send in your love. But after a few, my too sensitiveness started coming through. I was like, oh, there you are. I felt this, and what it feels like to me is this sensation in my belly, this like tightness, like, uh-oh, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing it wrong? Have I angered people? Am I a terrible mom? So I turned off the public. I switched the privacy settings to that post to just my friends. So it was no longer public because all these people that were sending mean comments, all of them except a few were from strangers that were not my friends. So I was really proud commenting back to some of the kind of mean ones calling me names. I responded so kindly, but then I realized real quick I didn't have that in me. I'm too sensitive for that kind of cruelty. That's why I didn't post it on my bigger public pages, because I know social media is a place where people share their opinions. And to be honest, on my personal page, I don't really want opinions. That's pretty much defeating the purpose of social media. I know. And there's a part of me that just wants to share these things and not have to listen to people call me horrible names. Now, I'm down for a good disagreement. Kind, respectful disagreement. Yes, please. Let's go there. But the name calling in all capitals, you're an ignorant person raising an ignorant child, or accusing me of treating my son like a boyfriend. Like, ugh. No. So I made that. I changed the privacy, and then all those mean comments stopped. So that was nice. And a lot of people, and a few people did, because then I posted, hey, I made that post private, but if you want to know more about my parenting styles, I'm going to make a podcast about it. So tune in on Sunday for the podcast if you want to, if you want to hear what I have to say publicly about this. But I'm not going to write publicly on social media about it because, in my opinion, and this is just mine, and you can disagree with me, precious listener, most of these conversations that are very heated, in my opinion, do not belong on social media. In fact, I feel like it makes everything worse. I really do. I miss the days of social media where we just shared photos and great things that were happening, not because I feel like that should just be the filter of all things are great, but because these nuanced conversations like parenting, you can't have them. You can't have them, in my opinion, again, on social media. It gets so heated. It gets so mean. I mean, I've never left. No, that's not true. I might have, but I can't recall ever leaving calling someone a name that I don't know on social media. I don't even know where that comes from some people. I know for sure I've never called anyone a name on social media. That's just no. But I have made some social media posts that I deeply regret. Which is a story for another day. And so, yeah, these conversations, in my opinion, do not belong on social media. I think it just makes everything worse, more polarized, more divided, more angry. So I'm changed that setting, and here I am recording the podcast. And I hope some of you that were triggered by my post are here too, because I don't want you to just agree with me. I don't need you to. What I do want is respectful dialogue, and can we be free from acting like elementary school students and calling each other names, and instead go, that's interesting. That's not how I do it, but okay, thank you for sharing. Sharing of perspectives, I think, is so beautiful and a lost art on social media because of the lack of nuance, in my opinion. So the reason I wanted to bring it here is I can speak more clearly, more nuanced. People can sit with it. Maybe we can have longer dialogues about it sometime in the future. But I know that I'm just sharing my opinion here, but all I'm trying to offer are little seeds. I'm not trying to tell you this is the way. I'm sharing my human experience because it is my opinion also that the reason there are so many styles to parent is because evolution, or if you don't believe in evolution, just life procreating needs diversity. It needs lots of different scenarios to see how it flourishes or does not. So my style is mine. I will never tell you, although my ego would love if people agreed with me. I'm not sharing this for you to agree with me. I'm sharing as this one little person, this one little dot, this one little grain of sand on earth, my experience as a mother, which has been one of the most transformative of my entire life. And I've done a lot wrong. I've done a lot that I'm proud of. I know there's stuff I'm doing that I'm not even aware of that I will have to apologize for in the future, because what we don't know, we don't know. I don't know the stupid ass shit I'm saying. Just like when I read things that I wrote 15 years ago on social media, some of it I have to just like, whoa, who's that girl? I have a lot of compassion for her. I think she's very cute, but oh my goodness, no. We don't know. There's things I'm doing today that I know one day I'll have to apologize for. Maybe it's even this thing of one day my son will be like, Mom, why didn't you make me do my homework? Maybe it'll be that. And I'll have the conversation with him then. Because all I can do is what feels best in this moment. And when I get it wrong, I am happy to talk to my baby and listen. I am absolutely desiring for him to feel safe enough. This is the key thing. I want him to always feel safe enough to tell me how something I have done made him feel. Even if I did it in the best of intentions, it might have really impacted him horribly. So that is what I want to cultivate above all else. I'm just realizing as I'm speaking. I want to cultivate a space of him feeling safe enough to be honest with me, even if it crushes my little ego and my whole soul self. Even if it makes me cry. I want to cultivate that space of honesty. It makes me emotional because my whole body relaxes. I can be honest and it's okay. Yeah, it is. Now, if my son were to share something with me and it was hard for me to hear and he wants me to do it differently, can I promise I can do it differently right then? Well, I don't know. I'll do my best, and also I have to respect myself. I can't always change to appease others, and I do want to do best by my son to listen and show him that it's safe to share our honesty. Sometimes we can pivot, sometimes we can't. Sometimes we just have to live with things that we don't like about other people. And how do we even do that? I think that's such a juicy nugget. How do we live with people that we don't like? Without reverting to violence and cruelty, but instead learning how folks that we live with that we don't like also have gifts for us. Learning how to navigate people we don't agree with and don't really like, but that we have to work with, live with. I think especially in this day and age, how to be kind when we don't agree with one another. I feel is a fast fading art. So that is the basis of my parenting right there. How can I create a safe space so my baby knows he can trust me? He can share his ugliest, most embarrassing things with me so I can help him. And by help him, I mean do the right thing. Do we have to go apologize to someone for something he did? Does he need to be heard and then helped to be held accountable? I don't want to just teach him that he can do whatever the F he wants. No. But I do want him to know that he's a good person who's allowed to make mistakes. We are good people who are allowed to make mistakes, who are allowed to learn. We don't know what we don't know, so we need to have the space to learn instead of be told, "Oh, well, you don't understand. If you don't think this way, then you're not my people." Well, how are we gonna understand each other if we just shut the doors on each other? How can we learn if we're just told that we're never going to get it anyway? I guess what I'm trying to say is, how are we going to understand our differences if there is no sense of safety to share our truth? And by truth, I mean, there's a lot of truths out there. I think that's another thing that is so challenging, is that we think there's one capital T truth, and there's millions, billions of truths out there. Each one of us is living our own truth, and they might not align, but a lot of them do. Okay, getting back to parenting. So to give a little background, Sequoia, my son, was born on a beautiful day, February 12, 2012. It was a rainy day in the desert, which is always magical. It was rainy that whole weekend. It was just, he was born on a Sunday. And it was a painful birth, but a beautiful, perfect, seamless birth. And truly, like, seeing him come out of my body, it still shocks me. I know it's the most common, normal thing ever, and it still rings as magic. And then within the first hour, he's breastfeeding from my body. He knows how, my body knows how, and I just have to figure out how to like latch him, or no, I don't even have to figure out how to latch him. He knows how to latch. I just need to like learn how to hold him properly, because I'm not even that versed at that point of holding a newborn. So Sequoia Narayan came into the world, and his dad and I were never really together. We were just cohabitating, and we were friends and business partners, essentially. But the world didn't really know that. We didn't really let known to the world that that's what was going on. But we were business partners and parent partners. And so early on, we learned how to respect each other's parenting. And overall, our parenting styles are very similar, but there's a lot of differences. And so I trust that the way that my co-parent parents our son when he has him is valuable. I don't need to control that, even if it's very different than mine, or even directly opposite of mine. I think that's valuable. I do not need to control what happens over there. And we talk about a lot of things, and we align on a lot of things, but we also give each other the space to be the kind of parent that we think is best without needing to micromanage the other one. And for that, I'm very, very grateful. So in the beginning, it was really hard. I was 33 when he was born, and I'd lived up until that point, always living month to month, penny to penny. And so now I have this newborn, and how am I going to make ends meet? How am I going to do massage when I am sleep deprived, and photography? And I was so filled with fear. Oh, it brings tears to my eyes. I was so afraid. I was self-employed, but always just barely making it, and I have a newborn. And luckily, yes, I had a co-parent, and I had my dad in town, and so I had some support, which I was really, I didn't know at the time how incredible that was. Once my dad died 4 years later, I realized, oh my God, I took his support for such granted. But my dad helped out all of the time. So at the time, I had a yoga dance studio, which is also my photography studio. It was called the Movement Shala, and it was downtown Tucson, right off of 4th Avenue. It was so cool. I was so proud. My co-parent and I both opened that. But then I sort of took it over, and he did another business that we opened, which was called Fed by Threads. It was a clothing store, all sustainable, that helped the community. And anyways, so there I was as a new mom with a newborn and a yoga studio that I rented to other teachers, and taught my own dance classes and did my photography. And also I was the janitor of and the bill payer, and it was a lot. And my fear, which is what I wish I could go back and just eliminate the fear. I was so afraid. I did it. I made it work. But I carried around that heavy burden of fear the whole time. One thing I could do is just, I remother myself often, and I still get opportunities to remother that 33-year-old version of myself. So I was like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're carrying so much fear then, that only occupied space that you didn't need to carry, but we don't know. So those early years were not my best parenting years. My son didn't start sleeping fully until he was like 3 years old. And so I felt always sleep deprived, and always behind, and my photography really took off when he was like 6 months to a year old. So I had a lot of traveling. I was on the Today Show and the BBC, and my photography, I was all over the place, but I wasn't getting paid for any of that. I was barely making money, but my work was very, very popular, and I had lots of cool things to attend to, but I didn't know how to charge for it. So I'd do all these fly all over the place to do speaking things, but I didn't know how to charge for it. So it was rough. And if I could go back, I would do his younger years completely different. And I've apologized to him, even though he's like, Mom, I don't remember. I'm like, I know, baby, but I wasn't as present as I would have liked to have been. And I'm sorry. Because your body does remember. Maybe your brain doesn't, but your body remembers that I was stressed out a lot of the time. And I believe our babies pick up on that. And I wish I could do it different, both for him and me. I deserved to not be so stressed out. Because that was my only shot at young motherhood. So that's it. That's all I got. It's gone. I don't get to do it again. So it wasn't until I started doing deeper self-work that I was like, I got some big opportunities here to do things differently with my baby. The deeper I dove into my own work and my own healing and remothering, the more I was like, oh, I can show up so differently for this precious boy. I actually really want to support the beautiful gem that he is and be really aware of how much I project onto him and make him do because I think is cool. How can I balance the guiding him of things that I think are cool while being very attuned to what he is naturally drawn to? That's a really nuanced balance, in my opinion. I love going out into nature, and my son would rather not until we get there. See, when I tell him we're going to go out to nature, go camping, all he can think about is the boring ass drive. He does not like the long drives to our camping and to the beautiful places we've been. Their long trip to Chiapas, the many trips to Mexico where I've taken to the village, to Yalapa, where I grew up. And he doesn't like the long traveling, but he does always like it once we get there. And he knows that now. And he'll even say, it's like, yeah, I know, Mom. I don't like the drive. I don't like getting there, but I know I'm going to have fun once I get there. I know. And I let him be disappointed and kind of annoyed that we're going to do this thing because it's valid. It's valid that he feels annoyed that I'm going to force him to go to nature with me, even though he can't quite remember that he does actually enjoy it. And once we get there, yeah, and maybe he will even be a little bored once he get there, but that's okay too. So that's I think a key point for my current parenting is the amount I want to push him, the grace of letting him be annoyed and frustrated, because who wants to be pushed to do something they don't want to do, instead of like, oh, just stop complaining. And I do ask him sometimes, hey, can we take some breaths and have a little freedom from this complaining? Because, I'm very sensitive. But, he's allowed to be frustrated with me. He's allowed. And even though I am a very sensitive person, and some of my best, greatest, deepest work that I'm still working on is not taking things personally. That's my work. If I can truly not take things personally, then I can allow him to feel the heck he wants when I make him do things he don't want to do. Like have a phone at 13 years old. He's one of the only kids in his whole school that doesn't have a phone. He's not happy about that. I tell him all the time, it's valid. You're not happy about that. You're allowed to be mad at me and your dad for not letting you have a phone right now. It's so valid. Yeah, I'd be mad too if someone was telling me I couldn't do the thing I wanted to do. You can be mad and you're not going to have a phone right now. Now, my son does have an iPad and he loves video games. He also has, oh gosh, I don't even know what these things are called. It's a thing that you connect to a TV, a PlayStation, I think it's called. He has one of those here that my mom helped him get, that he plays on, not all the time, but sometimes. But he does love this game called Roblox that he plays on his iPad. And he usually plays with other kids. Like they all get on a call and they play together, which I think is really great. They're all talking to each other and playing. But I remind you, only does that when those small windows at home. Sometimes I let him go on forever. Like on the weekends, I let him indulge. And then I'll have to make, force him to go do something out in nature with me or something. And he doesn't want to get away from his video games, rightly so. And he's allowed to be frustrated and mad, and we're going. So technology, I'm no expert here. I'm no expert at any of this. I just know for myself, right now, I just don't feel safe to give my son a phone, just right now. But one could say, well, what's the difference? He has an iPad. Well, exactly. He does. He has access to, he has a TikTok account, which I still don't know how I feel about that. But I talk to him a lot about it. I talk to him a lot. I'm very honest about the things I'm afraid about from the internet. And I ask him, can I trust you with this? And I keep track of him the best I can, but also, it's the internet. So I don't have any concrete answers on that, but at this point, I do trust him. And if I can keep cultivating that space where he feels safe to share his honesty if he makes a mistake or does something really dumb online, that he would come to me for help. That he's not going to meet a demon who's mad at him, but, someone who's going to help him, but not let him off the hook. Help him and guide him and teach him how to be accountable without fear. So getting back to that post now on Facebook, when I was so sharing about how happy I am about not caring about grades and not caring about homework, how it came about that was also self-work, because I will admit my son has always struggled in school, and I felt really worried about that in the beginning. In fact, up until a few years ago, I felt very worried about that. He's already a year older than most of the kids in his class. My baby is like me, and we're kind of slow learners. We do things slow. And I often tell him, I say, I'm sorry, you had to inherit this slowness from me. It takes me a long time to learn something. I feel like it takes me 10 times longer to learn something that for most people, they can learn pretty quickly. And I said, I'm sorry. And there's beauty in the slowness too. It might not win awards and get good grades, but there's such beauty in the slowness. It's okay. It's safe to do things slow. It's safe to get the grade you get. It's safe to sometimes not do your homework, or maybe ever at all. That's up to everyone personally, but it's safe to not do what others require or expect of you for now. Now, a lot of people right here want to be like, well, what about when he's in work? He can't just not do his work. That's the biggest thing that was on my post. Okay. What I desire to teach my baby is that I want him to listen to himself. I also simultaneously tell him all the time, this is a topic that he's so annoyed that I talk about over and over. Part of being human is we gotta do stuff we don't want to do. It's not fair. It sucks. A lot of the times it's uncomfortable. We can be angry about it. We can scream into a pillow about it. We are not allowed to hurt others with our frustration about it. We can journal about it. We can do breath work. We can stomp our feet. We can share it with somebody that we feel safe with. But a lot of times in life, we gotta do stuff we don't want to do. Why? It's a good question. Adulting, especially for us deeply feeling, which my son is as well, especially for us deep feelers, us very, very sensitive folks, doing the things of the quote unquote normal world feels like it's 10 times harder. So, yeah, we have to develop, we get to develop, and this is something I'm constantly talking about, the self-compassion of like, it makes sense, I don't want to do this. have to do it anyway. This is part of being human. It's valid. I don't like it. And let's go. Let's go. There is beauty in facing with compassion, with hand to heart. Yeah, makes sense. You don't want to do this. We're going to do it anyway. Rather than the pushing of like, I'm such a bad person if I don't do this. What's wrong with me? Why can't this be easier? I'm only going to be lovable if I do this. I'm going to get in trouble if I don't do this. To me, that is such a huge energy difference. One is regulated. Yeah. Okay, makes sense. For me, I use this a lot with exercise because, oh my goodness, I do not want to exercise. But girls got to exercise. I want that stamina. I want that strength. I want to live long to see my baby grow into an old man. So yeah, I have to tell myself, baby girl, it makes sense you don't want to exercise. We're going to the gym. So let's go. But that's very different than, oh, you're a piece of shit if you don't go to the gym. What's wrong with you? Everyone likes the gym. Everyone says it makes you feel better. You know it makes you feel better. You're just a fat, lazy piece of crap. It's a very different energy than, oh, yeah, I know you don't want to go. It makes sense. Oh, my goodness. We're going to do it anyway. Love you. Let's go. Which is exactly how I approach these things of like going to nature, going camping, going to Chiapas, which he also didn't want to do, and ended up having, P.S., the most amazing time. So, yeah. To me, it's a lot of people say, well, you're just teaching him how to be a lazy kid. I understand where those people are coming from. I do. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm teaching that self-kindness is number one important. And that we can do hard things, we can do uncomfortable things, we can do things we don't want to do, we can hold ourselves accountable, we can make amends, we can repair, we can admit we're wrong, we can own our failures and our mistakes as we have our hand to our heart and our feet rooted to the earth. And we're like, you're a good person who messed up. You're a good person who doesn't want to do this thing. You're a good person who learns through failure. You're a good person who makes mistakes. That's the big one. I feel like that's such an important mantra, at least for me, and I feel like my son as well. You're a good person who's allowed to make mistakes. You're a good person who will make mistakes. You are a good person who might be making a mistake right now. That's not to let me off the hook. It's so that my nervous system can stay regulated and say, okay, there's no emergency here. I made a mistake. How do I need to hold myself accountable? How do I need to do better? What steps do I need to make to go forward? And most of the really successful business people that I listen to on podcasts, they have pretty self-kind inner dialogue. I feel like people who meet failure with gentleness are people who are like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm a good person who failed. It's annoying, and it does not affect, it does not take away from the goodness. It's just another obstacle in this journey of life. So that's what I see. And there's plenty of people who disagree. Maybe you're disagreeing with me right now, and that's valid. This is just my little journey. Coming from my own experience of being a very sensitive person and having beaten myself up for most of my life, and then gaining access to my best health. I am off all of the medications I've been on through self-kindness. Self-kindness has been the single healthiest practice I've ever committed to that has given me the most rewards. Is my life still hard, and do I still struggle with stuff? Yes, I do. But oh my goodness, this self-kindness, at least to me, is next level. If one day my son comes to me and be like, Mom, you taught me to be too kind and it really messed me up, I'd be like, okay, that's valid. I'll listen. I'm open, especially to my son. I don't know if I'm open to everybody, specifically strangers on the internet, but I am open to my baby boy. I always will be. Even if it derails me, and oh gosh, who wants to hurt their baby? Oh, I don't. I definitely don't. But I know I am sometimes when I don't mean to. It's unintentional. I didn't mean to, but I'm sorry. To me, it's just, So yeah, if he comes to me one day, it's like, I wish you would have taught me how to be a little more kind of mean to myself. I'll be like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't know how to guide you there. I thought that this was best, but I absolutely hear you and believe you. I'm sorry. It makes sense. Thank you for sharing with me, baby boy. Thank you for sharing with me. How can I support you now? What would you like now? Complete, free from defensiveness. I don't need to defend anything. I know I get shit wrong all the time. So, yeah, a lot of people tell me, well, maybe you're just making him lazy and he's going to be mad at you one day. I'm like, oh, I can guarantee you he's going to be mad at me for something. I don't know. I think that's actually a big problem that we can all really gain some juiciness from. We're gonna make mistakes. Our kids are gonna be angry about something. Can we just let them? And can we be the adult in the room and say, and create that sense of safety so they can be honest with how the things we did made them feel, even if it was the best intention thing, like me with my self-kindness is the number one thing. I can totally see and be like, Mom, I wish you would have made me more of a hard ass. Oh, yeah, okay. I can absolutely see. Thank you for sharing that with me, baby. Thank you. Because that's evolution. It's like we pivot this way, we pivot that way, we pivot this way, we pivot that way. And we're all doing our little pivots in our parenting. But I think what we all can do, regardless of if we agree with our parenting styles or not, what we all have the opportunity to do is allow our children to give us the feedback they need to give us. Free from defensiveness. Open hearts, kind eyes, soft shoulders, soft jaw, soft toes. Tell me more, we say to them. Tell me more. Thank you for sharing. Tell me more. Thank you for sharing. Not, well, my intention was, well, I didn't mean that. Well, no. Oh, thank you for sharing. Tell me more. That to me is the energy of Mother Earth, Mother Nature, Father Sky. Yes. Tell me more. So I suppose that is the root of my kindness, is absolutely surrendering to that I will get things wrong. And continuing every day to be curious how to support the precious treasure that my son is, not the person I project onto him, but instead, I'm not really interested. I know nothing about Roblox, the game he loves. I know nothing, but I let him talk to me forever about it, even though it almost sounds like Japanese to me because I don't really know what he's talking about. He loves anime. I don't understand anime. I don't understand it. It's so boring to me. I will watch the things with him. Although it hurts to watch those. It's so hard for me. And let him talk. And I say, tell me more. Because even though I don't understand it, it gives me insight of how I can support his inner compass. Who are you? You precious little creature. How can I support you being you? How can I create a space where you feel so safe? You will tell me your most embarrassing moments and by embarrassing, I mean embarrassing mistakes. Things we're afraid to share and be judged about, especially as young people, so that we don't feel alone. I love what Gabor Mate says. He's so brilliant about how it's not what happened to us. It's who was with us when those things happened. So if my son makes a huge, horrible mistake, How can I provide a space where he's honest with me so I can help him navigate to do the right thing? I also am so grateful because my baby boy is so precious and is so kind. At least that's the feedback I get. It could be very well. There's parts I don't see, and I have blinders too, where he's, doing something else that I might need to tend to. But as far as I know, my precious boy is very kind. He knows how to feel frustrated and not take that out on people and instead do breath work. He knows that it's normal to not like everyone and to be triggered by people, but that doesn't mean we get to inflict pain onto others. We take those triggers and we alchemize them through breath work and sacred rage. We create boundaries. We don't hang out with those people. I feel like if I can really instill that self-kindness, it's just, at least this is my human experience, the kinder I am to myself, the kinder I am to everyone, even though people I really, really am challenged by. There's only a few people in my personal life that I'm very, very challenged by. They're some of my greatest teachers. But the kinder I am to myself, the kinder I can be to everybody. And well, how does that exactly get me more success? And how does that get me into being a lawyer or a doctor? Or how does that get me into making more money? I don't know. But I'm a deeply feeling weirdo, desert hag who grew up in the jungle with no electricity, who doesn't care about being a doctor or a lawyer. I'm very grateful for doctor and lawyers. Thank you. I care about being so kind. I was so mean to myself. Since I was around 10 years old, I was so mean. My inner dialogue was, you are a piece of crap. You're gross. You're ugly. You're unlovable. That was my inner dialogue for almost 30 years. So, to me, my personal evolution that I decided to share with my son is, you're a good person. You deserve your self-kindness. You deserve the self-kindness. Hand to heart, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to have to do hard things. We're going to have to apologize. We're going to have to survive mistakes and failures, survive heartbreak, survive death, survive the intensity that this beautiful life brings us. This life is so beautiful, and it's also so hard and so painful. That's what we're here to do. I guess I can only say that's what I'm here to do. Brene Brown says so brilliantly, you can't numb one emotion without numbing them all, so I gotta feel it all. Sometimes I'm like, what the heck is this human experience? This is so hard. And then I watch a sunrise. Or I listen to my son sleep. Or I see him walk across the flag football field and think, oh my God, I love him. Or I walk into a hot springs and go, oh. So often, life feels unbearable to me. And that's what we get to do. We hold the unbearable right alongside the beauty. Right alongside. Some days it's more unbearable than beautiful, and other days it's more beautiful than unbearable. But that self-kindness, I'm not saying this is what you should do, but what it did for me was got me off my antidepressant medication, got me off my anxiety medication, got me off my bipolar medication, got me off my high blood pressure medication, got me off of chronic migraines, overactive bladder, back pain, foot pain. Do I still get twinges of all of these things? Yes, I do. I'm not afraid of it. I know it's my body somaticizing the intense experience it is for me to be human. And so I guess this is my parenting style. I'm so grateful for his school. I am. I love it. I love driving there every day. It's beautiful. The principal, I don't know him, but I like his smile. My son feels safe there. I ask him every day, are you good here? Is everything okay? Do you like the kids? Yes. He loves the kids there, except one or two teachers. He really loves the teachers there. He loves going there, and I want him to like that. I want him to enjoy the village that I cannot provide on my own. And I'm not saying anything to people who homeschool. Please do not hear this as a critique to that. I cannot homeschool because I found out during COVID in 2020 when we all went to homeschooling that I am the worst homeschooling teacher on the planet. No good. I am no good. And also, I have to work. And my home is my place of work, so I kind of need my son out of the house. And he loves it there. He loves it there. I make sure, because I tell him all the time, we can homeschool any day. Even though I'm not a good homeschooling teacher, I'll figure it out. Maybe I can get someone to help me, or he's probably old enough to even do it on his own at this point. But my point is, he does like going there, but I want him to feel freedom from like needing to get the best grades and needing him to, be the best in sports and needing him to do, please all the teachers. And I want to respect the teachers. I respect what they're giving them and the work they're giving. I absolutely do respect, but what I respect more is the ease of my baby. I want him to feel happy to go there, not stressed out to go there. And I do force him into doing the sports after school, even though he's usually not the best. And we have to talk a lot about how, especially team sports, it's like, well, we do our best. And the cool thing is we get to be a part of our team. And it does. It feels shitty. It feels really, really uncomfortable to feel like it's your fault that your team lost. Like in wrestling last year, he often felt like he was bringing his team down. And just the other day after flag football, he was like, I think a lot of my team members were mad at me. And I was like, oh, tell me more. Like, yeah. I was like, well, how did that make you feel? I'm like, well, they're right. I did miss a lot of opportunities. Like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it's okay. That's the thing. It's like when we're self-kind, we can hear other people's critique and be like, yeah, you're not wrong. I did miss a lot of those flags. You're not wrong. We can hear that critique from valid. We can allow ourselves not to be the best sports person. We can just be in the sport. I love to see him around those other children and the parents clapping. Every time, like in wrestling last year, when someone that I didn't know yelled out, "Go Sequoia!" I cried. I was like, how do they know my son? This other human is encouraging my baby. I love that. So I'm not a sporty person either, so I get it. I'm so afraid of getting hit by balls in the head. Oh my gosh. Even I did a lot of sports. I sucked at them all. Yeah, I'm not very good at sports, but I want him to be part of a team. I want him moving his precious body. I want him doing those things. And I have to lovingly, I know you don't want to. And sometimes I'll pick him up before sports, and it's just so he doesn't have to do it every single day after school. We talk about it. But my point is, I want him to know that his self-kindness, how he feels, that he can trust how he feels about things. Simultaneously, in a nuanced way, respect the teachers who are given the work, respect the work that is being done. And I do feel he's doing a good job at that. Not the best, no. But he's doing a good job at it. And I'm really, really happy with that. And what I'm most happy with is he does not feel stressed about those things. Because guess what? I was really good at math in school. I was so obsessed with being the best, math student. As soon as I graduated from high school, I never touched math again. And oh my gosh, I could barely, I have to write things down. I can't even what is 63 plus 25? Oh my gosh, I have to write that down. I can't even do it in my head. So I don't know if he's going to use math in the future. I don't know, but I do want him to participate in group things. I want him to learn to respect his teachers. But all of that is secondary to, I'm going to be kind to myself. How does this situation make me feel? So I hope that what I shared here planted little seeds, even if you were very triggered by every single word I said. I think triggers are a blessing. So you're welcome. You're welcome for your triggers. I know they don't feel good. I'm triggered by so many things myself. But the thing is, for me, is I'm not going to project my stuff, my triggerness. I'm going to say thank you for triggering me, because that means there's an opportunity to look at that. It doesn't mean we have to agree with it. It doesn't. Maybe it's a very solid thing that's like, ooh, no, that's a very hard no for me. Okay, cool. Now I know that. But I don't need to blame the other person for that. It's just I know in my body now that's a hard no. Or that's just not a road I want to go down. Or I don't believe in that. That's okay. That's okay. Those are all just little, it's all the map to where we're going, to guide us to our truer and truer and truer path. So whether you enjoyed this or were curious or triggered, thank you for being here. Thank you, most of all, I want to say, for parenting the way that you parent. But what I really want to leave you with is thank you if you are in the midst of or are very fluent in the art of self-kindness. You're a good person who's allowed to make mistakes. You're a good person who's doing her best, his best, their best. You're a good person. Take a deep breath. Shoulders melt down. Hands to your heart. I'm a good person who can hold myself accountable when I mess up. It's safe. It's safe to admit when I'm wrong. It's safe to apologize when I realized I've hurt someone. It's safe to disagree. At least I think so. Thank you for being in that beautiful body. Thank you for continuing to practice self-kindness, because when you practice self-kindness, everyone benefits. And I'm benefiting right now as you practice that self-kindness. So thank you. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Dime dónde vas y en qué pensás. Tu alma está perdida, ya dejaste de soñar. Cansado